For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson. Last week, a number of black stars have either been arrested, hit with lawsuits, had their reputations tarnished, or a combination of 2 out of the 3. With Tiffany Haddish being arrested for a DUI, Diddy, Jamie Foxx, Eric Adams being accused of sexual assault, and allegedly Will Smith and Dwayne Martin's personal lives out on display. This week's shocking allegations about some of our black entertainers isn't purely a coincidence. It was actually discovered that a high-profile sexual assault cases that hit the headlines were part of a last-minute rush before the New York Adult Survivors Act expires. This case was filed under the state's Adult Survivors Act, which provides a 1-year window for sexual assault plaintiffs to file civil claims, regardless of the statute of limitations. The window closed on Thursday, November 23rd, which has led to multiple sexual assault lawsuits. Notable names included in these cases are Sean Diddy Combs, Jamie Foxx, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, among others. A lawsuit that was filed last Wednesday claimed that Jamie Foxx had assaulted Jane Doe at Catch, New York City and Roof back in 2015, and Foxx has denied these claims. Last Thursday, a spokesman for Foxx said, "The alleged incident never happened. In 2020, this individual filed a nearly identical lawsuit in Brooklyn. The case was dismissed shortly thereafter. The claims are no more viable today than they were then. We are confident they will be dismissed again, and once they are, Mr. Foxx intends to pursue a claim for malicious protection against this person and her attorneys for refiling this frivolous action." The other lawsuits have included Diddy, whom after settling with Cassie in one lawsuit, faces 2 new ones. The first coming from a woman who claims she dated him while she was a student at Syracuse University in 1991. According to E! News, the filing states that Diddy took the woman to dinner and slipped a drug in her drink when she left to use the restroom. When it came to this new lawsuit, a spokesman for Diddy told E! "This last-minute lawsuit is an example of how a well-intentioned law can be turned on its head. Miss Dickerson's 32-year-old story is made up and not credible. Mr. Combs never assaulted her, and she implicates companies that did not exist. This is purely a money grab and nothing more." Of course, Diddy has denied wrongdoing in this case, but also in this third lawsuit as well. According to the same source, this third filing states that Diddy and R&B singer Aaron Hall assaulted an unnamed woman and her friend at a singer's apartment in 1990 or 1991. The case also says that Diddy allegedly visited her home and assaulted and choked her until she passed out. In a statement in E! News, Diddy's spokesperson said, "The claims involving alleged misconduct against Mr. Combs for over 30 years ago and filed at the last minute are all completely denied and rejected by him. He recognizes this is a money grab because of Mr. Combs' fame and success. He is an easy target for accusers who will falsify the truth without conscience or consequence for financial benefit." The New York legislature sure did not intend or expect the Adult Survivors Act to be exploited for improper purposes. The public should be skeptical and not rush to accept these unsubstantiated allegations. In addition to Jamie Foxx and Diddy, Bill Cosby, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, Axl Rose, Terry Richardson, and more have been recently added to the list of those that have been recently accused before the act expired. Joining me on this conversation is our very own John Abba to dive into the topic a little further.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It has. I was going to say thank you for joining me.
I wanted to big you up. I saw the Montgomery covers that you did.
Yeah.
That was really, really dope. I was proud to be a part of that, to be able to have us go down there and cover that story. So I wanted to big you up for doing your first on location.
I appreciate it. No, and I was going to start the show by doing the same thing, by bigging you up on your leadership. Because just the idea of taking the team to Montgomery to cover that story when it's kind of been swept under the rug a little bit. You don't hear people in outlets talking about it. So thank you for your leadership. And it was an amazing trip. We learned a lot, and it was really good.
It's definitely a testament of what I think the show is, which is why, I'm down to have this particular conversation with you, as serious as it is. We want our show to be that Thanksgiving table, that we can have that conversation, and that at the end of the day, we're learning, and we're not here to fight each other. We're here to more so get a perspective. Yeah. That's what we like to do here at the platform. Yeah, I love it. So let's dive into this one. So crazy week while we were in Montgomery, I'd say, and also a little time before that, headlines like popping out, different sexual assault cases. Tiffany obviously isn't in that, but the DUI, just different headlines. And there, you just see black entertainer, a couple of white entertainers, but we're the
black
week
platform.
Before that, we had Will Smith, the thing that he had going on.
What's your reaction seeing all those things unfold at once?
I think it's a clear wake-up call. It makes me think about Paul Mooney nigga wake up call segment that he would have, where he would constantly remind more so black people in the industry, don't forget that they still see you a certain way. And I think more so it's a warning that he was issuing out to future black celebrities that, hey, you know, don't get it twisted. Don't think that you're above certain things because you're making a certain amount of money, because you still can be held accountable. And I think that was kind of like my initial thought when I saw all these black celebrities caught up in these like crazy headlines back to back to back, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's what it made me think of. And actually, we can play the clip of Paul Mooney's nigga wake up call. He's talking about Michael Jackson, ironically, who also went through his own sexual assault cases as well.
Yeah.
So.
Let's take a look.
It's sad. It's sad. Niggas are under the illusion. They're getting these nigga wake-up calls left and right. Michael got his. Know that, okay? And if it is true, if he was doing it, let's just go along, he was doing it. Then the parents need to be arrested for child neglect, because they let this little motherfucker go over there every night. What happened to the state? What happened to all the people that protect the young? They're all full of shit because they let money make them all back off. So they all ain't shit in my book. So that means if you're poor, you go to jail, and if you're rich, you walk. That's what it tells me. I don't know what kind of nigga Michael is. He's strange because Michael has too much money for the bullshit. It's too hard for a black man to get money in America.
You know, regardless of how people may feel, I feel like Paul Mooney never held back.
Right.
Like every time I watch a clip or watch something, especially being on the team here, Paul Mooney would say how he feels.
I think that's you know, he was a voice that's needed. And, you know, in reference to that particular moment, overall, I think this incident or these incidents have given us a wake-up call across the board, particularly me as a man. It's made me think about my actions and how I need to behave moving forward. I think that is something that, like in this climate, you know, back in the day, which might have been okay and acceptable, you even had people talk about Freaknik and how men were behaving then, but that was kind of the culture. But you can't get away with that stuff now.
Yeah.
You know, women are much more vocal about what they want, much more vocal about their boundaries. And at the same time, though, too, you know, you have a couple bad apples that slip through the crack. Some women sometimes do come out with things that aren't true. We've seen that on record.
Yeah.
And so it's becoming a little bit of harder to navigate in a space like this. But hopefully in today's conversation, we can both kind of maybe advise both sides of how we want to move moving forward. But what was your thoughts when you saw all this going on?
Man, first thing was like, what the heck is happening?
Right.
Like, and it's not in a sense of like, I don't think these things happen in Hollywood,
right.
But I think it was just seeing all these sexual allegations at once and then doing further research. It was like, oh, there's a Survivors Act
right.
that's happening right now that people are trying to, you know, get these in. It makes me, some of the cases, I mean, obviously the Diddy was happening a little bit before I found out about the Survivors Act. So I didn't necessarily feel that way about Diddy's case, but when I was just seeing like Jamie Foxx and just like back to back, same thing, it was like, what the heck? What the heck is going on? The fact that I'm seeing these happen back to back.
I think with Jamie in particular, he actually had a case where he got was accused of slapping a woman with his penis. To hear his name brought up, given the fact that he'd been probably recovering still.
Right.
He at the house and he probably like, what the, you know, so not to say that if someone did something wrong, then they should be held accountable.
Absolutely.
At the same time, I think we are also experiencing, particularly as black men, we've seen it time and time again where things are presented against us that aren't true.
Absolutely.
And I think that's becoming kind of like the dance that we have to kind of figure out.
It very is, and I mean, it actually is. And I think what you said earlier, like there are bad apples, and I want to be very clear. There are men, there are women that do things that are absolutely wrong, and you should be held accountable. But I want to speak to the women's side of that, like women that lie about being sexually assaulted. I think there needs to be, and I think we talked about it on the show before, you need to be held accountable as well.
Sure.
And I don't mean held accountable like, oh, you're wrong, slap on the wrist. You need to do jail time. You need to lose parts of your life, because the thing about for black men, even if someone accuses, and I'm not going to say you, John Doe, about XYZ, and it comes out that it's not true, he still has that stain on him for the rest of his life. Like you say, he's still going to be recovering for the rest of his life. And I just feel like sexual assault can just be thrown around a little too easily. So I think it's great when cases come out and you know the truth comes out and all things are laid out on the table. But I really hate it when a man is lied on and then there's nothing that's done to the woman that did the lying.
I'll say this in perspective, that I think women should definitely really, really think about and hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
I think kind of what you're doing. Only reason why is because when I saw Jamie Foxx get the headline, I kind of was like, okay, because now it's feeling kind of common.
Yeah, we're
So
like
it's kind of
desensitized.
watering it down a bit more. So there's women that are actually going through the experience that needs the love, that needs the support.
Yeah.
And there's women that are not because they might see some other opportunities. And the more that it kind of raises in the conversation, the more it comes kind of commonplace. And that's, I think, the effect that it could have on women that are actually going through this experience, which is why I do agree with you maybe taking a stance and like holding women kind of like accountable.
Yeah.
And, you know, man, we definitely got to, you know, do our job too.
And I want to go to solutions, but first I want to add this. I think Black people also need to hold the Black community accountable. And I don't know, I can't prove this by any numbers, but just from my experience in life, I feel like we're the only culture that will say like, if like, let's use Carly Russell, for example.
Okay.
When she lied, it was like, oh, see, this is why we can't believe all. And I feel like we're one of the only cultures that do that. We take one incident and then we project it on us as an entirety. So absolutely, I'm definitely going to hold women accountable. And I want to talk about solutions for both sides. I want you to speak to men because I feel like it'd be more received. I don't want to come off as, you know, bashing to men, and I want to speak to women. But I think also too, we can hold the Black community accountable to, hey, one incident does not mean this is true for all of us. But let's go into solutions. What do you think? And though we're in a world, people are gonna people. So I don't think we're gonna solve all sexual assault cases. But what are some preventable measures you think men can take?
Yeah, so let's be clear. Like, what is the definition of sexual assault?
I can give you that. So sexual assault happens when someone either touches another person in a sexual manner without consent or makes another person touch them in a sexual manner without consent. It includes unwanted kissing, the touching of someone's genitals, breast, or bottom.
And, you know, just like reflecting on, you know, my experience being a young man without a father, I didn't have no one there to really kind of teach me these things. And I think that's why the conversation is important to have, like with our platform. So like, brothers, you know, we live in a climate now, this society is already looking for reasons to stop us. Is already looking for a reason to put you in jail. They got prisons on the stock market for a reason. The more of us in there, the more money we make. We dominate a large percentage of the prison population. So let's not work for the system. Let's not work with the system. Let's work against it. Let's protect ourselves, protect our women. And I think that that's gonna really guide us to the future generations. This is such a touchy subject.
It is.
You know, such a touchy one. I don't think it exactly relates to what we've seen in terms of like some of the details with Diddy's situation, but it is a touchy one where it comes to just the narrative of Black men being accused of like these type of acts and at times being lied upon. And at the same time, you know, sisters not being heard. Black women not being heard when someone has done something to them. I don't see a lot of Black women speaking up for different reasons, I'm sure. And you've even spoken on that in your cases of just like why you want to protect Black men. But it's such it's a touchy one because I don't want to say that Black men are running around out here as like we're just like these sex hungry monsters and we don't know how to control ourselves. I think there's this, a lot of us don't know, haven't been taught. There's a level of self-constraint that we need to practice. I know that's something that I see a lot of brothers now that are celebrities. They even stop like touching women in pictures. Yeah. Like they'll stand next to you with they hand, or they'll do the back palm. They'll
or do literally right in front.
Right. They won't touch you as you once did, and I understand why, because like you said earlier, to have that stain on you, regardless if you're innocent or not, it becomes a stain, and people will still think, nah, you did something though. Right. Yeah. And that's just unfortunate when you're trying to make, you know, changes and trying to be an impact player in your community.
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job executing that on such a tough topic. So I'll speak to the women. I want to start out, and you lightly mentioned, as a woman who has experienced sexual abuse. I'm not coming from a place to point fingers or anything of that negative rhetoric. But I do think as women, we have a responsibility as well to protect ourselves as well as protect men. But I want to talk just specifically to women protecting themselves. So when it comes to the no thing, I feel like we hear people tell men no means no. But also for women, know that no means no. So if you say no, no matter if it's an acute, oh, stop, no, don't do that. Let's be grown women, especially when you're taking into grown actions and obviously sexual things. And I have my own views there, but even like, don't use no as a light little dance or try to be cute. Like, if you mean no, say no. If you say no, mean no. Because it does, I have heard of situations where a woman can, just kind of be, oh, stop, no, but really mean like, oh no, I want you to keep going. So mean what you say. Also too, I think, and I say this lightly, keeping yourself out of certain situations. That's just very clear. If he calls you at 2:00 in the morning, he's not calling you to have coffee and watch a movie. I don't care what, like, he's not doing that. State your intentions. If you are going over to his house or going somewhere where y'all are alone, state your intentions of, hey, I do not plan to do this. I do not want to do this. And even if you say yes, it's okay to go back and say no, but again, stand firm in your no, because it can become a very blurred line. And I think in that process, it's just important to protect yourself. And the only way to do that is to validate your no. If your no is a yes one day, it's hard to take a no for a no the next day. So yeah, I would say mean your no, stay out of sticky situations. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Like, it's okay to lose a guy, no matter how cute he is. And this is for especially young women that are growing up. No matter how cute he is, no matter how much money he has, if you feel uncomfortable, pay attention to your gut. Pay attention to that feeling that you have that's like, yo, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't. And then the last thing I would say is, like, always share your location with somebody. Always tell somebody where you are. I understand as a young woman, you may not want to tell your mom. It's not cool to tell your mom, like, I'm going to such and such house. But if you have a friend or just a trusted individual, let them know where you are at all times, because you can be the most innocent person. And like you said, sometimes young men don't have that man to teach him, just like young women don't have, that guidance to teach them the proper way to conduct themselves or what's the right way to move in certain situations. So if you get a feeling, or even if you're just being innocent, you're in a situation, it's always important for somebody to know.
It makes me think, you made a lot of great points. And I was just over here reflecting, like, what would kind of kill all of this is if we work on our communication with each other.
I agree.
Communication is key. If you and we're in a dating relationship and we're both clear up front, what do you want? Mm-hmm. This is what I want. At that point, moving forward, there's no mixed signals. I think that we're getting caught up when there's mixed signals attached. Because now I'm looking at nonverbal cues. I'm trying to read on her energy. So like you said, if she's coming over at the house at 3 a.m., 9 times out of 10, as a man, I'm thinking, okay, it's about to get popping.
We're about to get it on.
But she might not be in that place. But if
Absolutely.
we did have a conversation and be very clear and say, hey, if you come over, this is what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
And then if she comes over, then this is the energy. And I'll end it by saying, I think it's very valuable that we having this conversation, one on this show, but at your homes with your person that you're currently dating. Because at the end of the day, no one wins in that type of situation.
Absolutely.
The woman doesn't win with the trauma that she also gets. And there's also male victims too.
Absolutely.
We laugh at that at times, but there's male victims, whether it be a man assaulting them or a woman has assaulted them.
Yeah.
The person who was uncomfortable gets to now avoid the potential trauma that was created. Yeah. And the person who was known as let's say the person that created that tension, the abuser, or the abuser, or the person that was more so how do you say it?
An attacker, or making their advances.
It sounds so, that was making their advances. Yeah. Now they get to avoid any type of issues that comes with that. They can avoid the headlines, the lawsuits, the accusations, by us both being clear on these are our boundaries, or this is what we want to do. So
that's a key word. I learned that in therapy. Boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries, and having check-ins, because even if you say yes about something, like just checking in, like, hey, are we still on the same page? Are we still seeing eye to eye? But like you said, having and knowing your boundaries, man, that's a whole conversation for another day. Because therapy taught me, like, I think
it's just, it's just it just seems to be like, you gotta kind of dance properly. But I think the greatest advice you gave, or when you're talking about women, I think the greatest advice for men is listen to her. She says no in any capacity, whether she's saying no because she's uncomfortable, or she's saying no because she's playing like that, that game that they sometimes can play. Mm-hmm. You don't have time for that.
Correct.
You need to be very clear on what she wants. That's the type of climate I think we're in.
Call her out. Tell
it's like-
her you a grown man. Like, you a grown man. I'm
Yeah, what we got going on, because what I don't want to see is more brothers that come into the spotlight that get accused of things, whether they're true or untrue. The whole game plan is to prevent that, because we need our future leaders. We need y'all to be able to step up and do things for our community, and that seems to be one of the first things they do.
Yeah.
Tupac. So I'm just noticing that, and it makes me again have a wake up call of how I need to conduct myself even more moving forward.
Yeah.
And it makes me be cautious too. Like, you know, I can't say the things I want to say at times.
Absolutely.
You know, I can't just spit off. You know, even if you compliment a woman, you have to kind of be mindful.
But yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm in a relationship, so I'm already got one person I need to focus on.
Yeah.
But it is something that, as a man, it makes you think about whether the hug was too long.
Yeah.
Like, so I
Very
think we
much
just
so.
need to be mindful, and that's a responsibility that we have to have.
No, I absolutely love that. And I, again, appreciate you for chiming in. I know people in the comments, there are just going to be some people that just see the negative, but I do hope that there was so much value that, again, you can continue this conversation, to take it home. I think we were saying before the show, have it at your, you know, your Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
you know, what's that Thanksgiving conversation you have at the table? And I do feel like this is one that needs to be had more often. So thank you for, one, allowing us to have it on this platform, but joining me in on this conversation for this.
No doubt.
So yeah, and I want to make it very clear, all the cases that are current, they're all alleged cases. I want to make sure as a platform that we're saying that right now.
Yeah.
These are all alleged cases, just because we're a platform and we're pushing information and we don't need to get caught up in nothing too crazy. So they all are alleged, but hey, you heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. What are your thoughts about all the recent headlines that have come out this week? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.